How did you find all these wonderful people to work with?
A lot of interesting stuff was happening in kind of the art and design schools, but then we wanted to really mix that up and, you know, look at kind of technological startups, artists who are working with farmers and setting up community drinks companies, and seeing art as a kind of socially embedded practice, through to more traditional work that's meant to be in a gallery and is getting us to look at things differently. So it was actually coming from quite a lot of different areas, and it was 3 years in the making.
Wow.
And I think we kind of probably caused our exhibition designers a real nightmare, because it's, you know, it's a very, very current subject and new stuff is being made all the time. So we were always finding one more thing that we wanted to get in there.
Oh, well, that must have been hard as well, kind of, because there is so much going on in that space that it must have been hard to, as well, narrow it down to something that was quite focused. And I remember we initially met through Honey and Bunny.
Yep.
Right? And they're doing some really, really interesting conceptual stuff as well in that kind of art food space. What did you work on with them in that?
So they're using kind of performance art to really disrupt the rituals of the table. So they stage eating events. And I think they kind of discovered earlier on in their practice that we're kind of so ingrained in the etiquette of the dinner table, and, you know, what food goes with what and what utensils we use and how you behave around the table, that if you deviate from that, you actually get a very strong emotional reaction from people. So as artists, that's really kind of rich ground. And then more recently, they've been using that to kind of build stories around the sort of sustainability of food. They actually came and did a performance at the V&A a few years ago in our Raphael gallery, which was fascinating, because I think, you know, food is really disruptive when it comes into the museum. And so they had a table laid out and they were dining, and there were kind of strange medical implements on the table and soil, and so it was quite a strange eating event. But the audience just somehow felt this permission to kind of sort of get in there and, you know, taste the soil and pick up these sharp things in a way that was almost, you know, got kind of quite difficult and uncomfortable, which I don't think would happen with, you know, another kind of installation or performance arts. There was definitely something about eating that kind of invited a much more immediate connection. So that was kind of fascinating. So we really wanted to include them in the show, but obviously it's an exhibition that's on for 6 months in a gallery space.
They were here for the opening, right?
They were, and so they what they did is they came over for a week, and we shot 4 site-specific films around the V&A building, and they staged 4 different eating events, and so it's the film work.
And was this part of it? Was it the afternoon tea? That they did, right?
And, you know, and it was a really fascinating exercise in kind of sort of stretching our limits for what comes into the museum. So one of the most beautiful architectural backstage staircases that visitors don't see, they brought kind of, you know, barrowfuls of soil in. So our conservation department had to be really open-minded about that one. And then in our ceramics gallery, they de-installed one of the cases and filled it with kind of processed packaged food, and just really kind of sort of played with the kind of thing that normally comes into the museum, and kind of the organic matter that we usually don't cope with. I guess something we were very conscious of in the exhibition was not separating the kind of the issues from the pleasures of food, and and kind of thinking about actually the ways in which some of the industrial approach to food that's kind of prioritizes efficiency and, you know, increasing production often does that actually at the detriment of flavor and pleasure, and, you know, and also kind of getting further away from enjoying seasonality or having some hands-on connection with growing, or having the confidence to experiment in the kitchen, and all those kind of pleasures that if you only see food if you only have a very passive relationship with food, you're actually, it has implications for the environment and for nutrition, but also for your enjoyment.